Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC Fight Night, Moreno vs. Albazi. Now this episode is late, but it's not too late to still talk about it. It started off frustrating and ended in a very nice way. It ended off. Oh Jesus, I can't even speak. The card ended in a very nice way. It was wrapped up in a bow beautifully. But before we even get to the ending, the start of this card was very, very frustrating. It starts off with, I want to call these robberies, but I would almost be dishonest if I were to call them like full robberies. I'm going to call these like the wrong fighter won, but I wouldn't reference these fights as robberies in the future. If you get what I'm like, this is something I don't really care. I don't want to say I don't care per se, but the makeup of this fight is so weird that I don't really want to call it I won't. How do I say this? I'm not stressed about it. But in the back of my head, I think they were robbed. So let's go to the first fight. First fight of the night, we go to Horth versus Petrovic. I had this 29-28 for Petrovic. This fight ended in a split decision. A split decision that it honestly shouldn't have been a split decision. In the first round, Petrovic had a takedown. She had a takedown and a reversal with some ground and pound. Horth had a takedown as well, but this first round belonged to Petrovic, just based off of the ground and pound that she had. Nothing really significant from both sides on the feet. You go to the second round, Horth had a submission attempt, a really good submission attempt, and she outstruck Petrovic by about 5 strikes. Petrovic had a takedown, but she really did nothing with it. You then go to the third round. Okay, you go to the decisive round. It's 1-1. Both of them had a takedown, but Petrovic had a reversal, and she outstruck Horth barely. Now, this is the reason why I'm not calling it like a super robbery, because this round is kind of it's just back and forth, fast paced. But really, honestly, I expect at least the judges to kind of pay attention here. I mean, Petrovic had a reversal. Both of them had a takedown. Petrovic was on top a little more, and she outstruck Horth barely, but she outstruck her with the cleaner strikes, and enough to where it should be known that she won this round and this fight overall. Instead, they didn't give her the decision. They kind of fucked her a little bit. You have Eric Colon. He has it 30-27 to Horth. Honorable mention, straight up. That's fucking disgusting. Honorable mention, straight up and down. To even see that scorecard is a travesty. So honorable mention, Eric Colon. That's a bad scorecard. Mike Bell, he gives the first round to Petrovic. He gives the second round to Horth, and he gives the last round to Horth. I want to complain, but I can't. You then go to Thomas Collins, who really has the correct scorecard. He gives the first round to Petrovic, last round to Petrovic, second round to Horth, and that's pretty much it there. Petrovic should have got the decision. She didn't. We move on. Next honorable mention is Anheliger versus Gibson. I had this 30-27. 30-27 for Gibson. In the first round, Gibson had 2 takedowns with ground and pound for 2+ minutes, and he had a submission attempt. Second round, he had 2 takedowns with ground and pound for 4+ minutes. Possible 10-8. I wouldn't give a 10-8, but you can argue one there if you'd like. But yeah, possible 10-8. And then in the third round, this is a round that you could maybe argue for Gibson. Argue for Anheliger. Anheliger was super active on the bottom here. I mean, I don't want to say super. He was slightly active on the bottom. He did a lot more work than Gibson did. Gibson kind of just laid on him and then occasionally punched. But because he had 2 takedowns and was on top of him for pretty much the entire round, you give him the round. He had 2 takedowns with some ground and pound. Again, Anheliger was active on his back slightly, so that's where I have my 30-27. You go to the judges' scorecards. And Derek Cleary, he has a 30-26. He gives the second round a 10-8 for Gibson. Junichiro Kamijo, he has a 30-27 for Gibson, and so does Zaid Harb. 30-27 for Gibson as well. You go to the next honorable mention. This is a robbery. This one's for robbery. This is more of a robbery than the first fight of the night. Okay, this is Sidey versus Armfield. This fight was also odd too, just based off of the movement and certain instances in the fight. But if you're fucking paying attention, Armfield wins this fight 30-27. Some people are arguing 29-28. I'm not really looking at those guys. It's 30-27 Armfield. You go to the first round. Armfield has a takedown. And he outstrikes Sidey by 6 strikes. Sidey has a submission attempt. Here's where we get into the mixy bit. Sidey has a submission attempt. That's not really. It's not like he gets out. This submission attempt does not negate everything that Armfield did on the feet and the takedown. I'm so confused as to if the round was close and he did the submission attempt. I think we can argue this differently. But that submission attempt does not win him this round. In any sense of the imagination, it doesn't win him this round. You go to the second round, but let's just say for bullshit's sake that it wins him the first round. Okay, you can have the first round, Sidey. Let's go to the second round. Armfield outstrikes Sidey by about 13 strikes. This is Armfield's round for sure. Still a weird round because Sidey lands some good strikes on Armfield, but Armfield is outstriking him clear in the second round. You go to the third round. Armfield has 3 takedowns with ground and pound. Based off of the last 2 rounds, Armfield wins this fight. Fuck the first round. There's no way you have 2 rounds clear for Sidey at all in any sense of the imagination. Any sense of the imagination. This is a split decision. I don't know how, but it was. You go to the judges' scorecards, and UFC.com doesn't have them posted. So guess what? We have to go to an alternative website where Mike Bell, gives the first round to Sidey. He loves submission. Okay, cool. All 3 judges gave the first round to fucking to Sidey. Honorable mention all 3. That's fucking. I think that's stupid. This wasn't one of those like. This isn't fucking. Come on. This isn't fucking Manel Kape versus that flyweight, the Divock the guy who's, I can't remember his name. This isn't the Manel Kape fight where he had like a submission attempt at the end of round 1. This isn't that at all. Okay, this is Sidey having a submission attempt, it not being in. That shouldn't negate the work that Armfield did on the feet at all. It's just insane that just gets superseded by everything that Armfield does. But whatever. It's cool. It's whatever. I'm going to give him all honorable mentions. I think that's fucking stupid. He gives the last 2 rounds to Armfield, so that's the correct scorecard, at least. Right? And then we go to... This is fucking terrible. We then go to Derek Cleary and Junichiro Kamiya. Just honorable mention. Just fucking... It's a shit scorecard. He gives both of them gives the first round to Sidey. They give the second round to Sidey. Sidey gets outstruck by 13 plus strikes in this round. I don't know. You can't find a second round for Sidey. But they give it to him. Okay. All right. Honorable mention. It's just fine. There's nothing else to talk about. It's ridiculous. It's so boneheaded and fucking ridiculous. I don't even know how that's even a thing. I don't know how that's a thing. He got jobbed. He got robbed. Whatever. We move on. Romanov versus Nascimento. I thought Nascimento was going to strike better in this. This seems to be the new narrative with Romanov, is where once he runs out of cardio, which he did after round 1, once he runs out of cardio, right? Because essentially his goal now is just let me take you down in the first round. Like once he got past the bottom feeders in the heavyweight division, and he's fighting the mid-carders in the heavyweight division, he now has to worry about his cardio. He can't fucking flambe. He can't beat these guys up. So what he does is let me take you down the first round and try to finish you, essentially. Try to 10-8 my way there. And now the judges are kind of, I believe they're kind of respecting the other opponent in terms of his strategy, because it's not as though his 10-8s are like true 10-8s. His 10-8s are based off of just how long he's kind of on top. So we'll get to that in a second, but he's trying to mathematically win the first round. After the first round, he basically gasses out and he becomes a shell of what he was in the first round. But his striking has kind of improved, really. Nascimento should have outstruck him much better in round 2 and 3. He should have, because basically Romanov wasn't even a threat anymore after round 1. So we're going to the scorecards. I had this 30-26. I gave a 10-8 in the first round to Romanov. In that first round, Romanov had 3 takedowns. 3 takedowns with ground and pound for 4+ minutes. That's a 10-8. Pretty simple. That's a 10-8. Possible 10-8 if you disagree, but it's a 10-8 on my scorecard. You go to the second round, and Romanov had a takedown with some strikes. Most of them were knees. Really? Almost all of them were knees. And he outstruck Nascimento on the feet. And then you go to the third round where it's close on the feet with the edge to Romanov. In this third round, let's just be honest, Romanov was outstruck in round 2 and 3. Romanov is outstriking Nascimento. Nascimento is either afraid of the takedown or he just can't strike. I don't know. But Romanov was outstriking him pretty well in round 2 and 3. In round 3, it's close. I put a close mark on round 3. I think you can argue the round. You can argue round 3 for Nascimento, but I gave it to Romanov. I had a 30-26. You go to the judges' scorecards. And all 3 judges had a 30-27 for Romanov. They just don't respect his first round abilities anymore. So yeah, Jason Tatalaw, Thomas Collins, and Saul Diamato all had a 30-27 for Alexander Romanov. You go to the next honorable mention, and that's Zahabi versus Munhoz. I had this 29-28. 29-28 for Zahabi. In the first round, Zahabi outstruck Munhoz by 8 strikes. In the second round, he outstruck him by 15+ strikes. And then in the third round, Munhoz outstruck Zahabi by 12+ strikes. The theme of this fight is basically Zahabi's just blocking everything from Munhoz. Everything. I mean, even in the second round, he blocked so many strikes from Munhoz. Just parrying. Everything hit Zahabi's arms. He was outstriking Munhoz badly. His striking is like, the easy word for it is technical, but it looks different from most technical fighters. It looks kind of herky-jerky, robotic. I don't know the name for it. It just looks different, but technical in that sort of sense. He's just really quick, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And it looks really good. It doesn't look like annoying or like you don't want to watch it, unlike some other fighters. But yeah, he looked really good. 29-28 for Zahabi. You go to the judges' scorecards. And Eric Colon had it 29-28 for Zahabi, and so did Mike Bell. And then Saul Diamato, he just continues to be the worst scorecarder on the planet. He has 30-27. I don't know how you give the third round to Zahabi. Zahabi's getting outstruck by Munhoz. Okay, third round comes in and Munhoz just decides he's going to bullet forward and take all the punches. But in the third round, he's punching Zahabi very successfully. Other than the first round and the second round, he's outstriking him very, very well in the third round, piecing him up, landing frequently. Now Zahabi's landing really good strikes on Munhoz, but Munhoz is outstriking him clear and landing big strikes on Zahabi. How you put your pen and write a 10 underneath Zahabi makes no fucking sense. Honorable mention there. That's ridiculously stupid. And then you go to possibly the worst fight on the card. That was Malott versus Giles. I'm not going to lie to you. I promise you, I've watched too much of this. At this point, I've watched too many fights. Malott Giles, when I saw this on the poster, I thought to myself, this fight's going to suck. This fight's going to be boring. And I was right. I didn't think I was right because Giles was going to take pictures with his strikes, which was basically land one really nice strike on Malott and then proceed to shimmy throughout the rest of the round. That's what Giles did. It's Giles, whatever the fuck his name is. That's what he did. He punched Malott like 3 times and was like, yeah, that looked really nice, and just like kind of danced in place danced in place. And when they rose Malott's hand at the end, he just smiled like he was happy. Like, I don't, like what the I don't know. I really don't know. It makes no sense. But that's pretty much the theme of this fight. You go to the first round. Oh, 30-27 Malott. You go to the first round. Close on strikes with the edge to Malott. I had him winning by a strike. Yeah. You go to the second round. Malott outstruck Giles by 7 strikes. Again, the theme of each and every one of these strikes is Malott is outstriking Giles, but Malott's face is bleeding from the one strike that Giles lands, and then Giles proceeds to just not land anything anymore. This fight reminded me of, like, I think it's Petrosian versus Dobson, where Dobson lands, like, I don't know, 2 strikes, but Petrosian is outstriking Dobson by 1,000. And by the end of the fight, Dobson's face looks like he just came in, and then Petrosian's face looks like he just went through a war. It's ridiculous. But back to this. Second round, Malott outstrikes Giles by 7 strikes, and then the third round, again, he outstrikes Giles by 5 strikes. It's one of the most frustrating fights to watch. Really, really frustrating. We'll go to the next honorable mention. It's De Silva versus Jasudavicius. They don't have it on my... Oh, yes, they do. De Silva versus Jasudavicius. Jasudavicius won her last fight against Melissa Gatto via robbery, and then she lost this fight. Now, I'm really stuck on that one. Melissa Gatto got robbed, but De Silva versus Jasudavicius. This fight ends in the third round by submission. Jasudavicius wins that, and then in the first round, I had this a 10-9 in the for De Silva, and then a 10-9 in the second round. A 10-9 in the second round to Jasudavicius. In the first, if I can find it, in the first round, Jasudavicius got outstruck by De Silva on the feet by about 8 strikes, and then at the very end of the round, she finally gets a takedown. Jasudavicius does, and lands like little ground and pound, very little ground and pound. And then Brandon Fitzgerald, the worst commentator out of the 4, goes play-by-play out of the 4, goes, I think that's enough to win the round. I think she did enough there. Every once in a while, Brandon Fitzgerald just pisses me off in the commentary, but he thinks it's enough. I'm telling myself that's not enough. She didn't even land enough decent ground and pound to really steal that round, but whatever. We go to the second round, where Jasudavicius has a takedown with ground and pound for 3 minutes and proceeds to land half of her strikes on the back of De Silva's head. While still getting warned, she's landing like elbows to the back of De Silva's head. And I'm watching it on my TV screen going, is she going to get stood up? Is anything going to happen? Nope. Cool beans. We'll just let it rock. And yeah, and she wins in the third round via submission. We go to the judges' scorecards, and Thomas Collins' scorecard reflects mine, and the junior comedian Eric Colon are just blind to the back of the headshots, and decides, let's give her a 10-8. Half of those strikes are to the back of the head. How are we counting those towards accurate strikes? They shouldn't count. It's a 10-9. Jasudavicius wins the round. It's a 10-9. Honorable mention to those two. That's fucking insane. There's no way she wins that round. She didn't dominate them. I mean, she did, but it's not enough. First of all, off of the strength of just what happened in the round, even if you include the strikes to the back of the head as legitimate, they're not. It's still not a 10-8. It's really still not a 10-8. But half of the strikes are to the back of the head, and we're still counting that towards a 10-8 somehow. Okay, cool. We move on. Another shitty fight: Machado versus Ribeiro. I had this 29-28. Machado should have won. 29-28. Last 2 rounds to Machado. First round to Ribeiro. Machado should have won, but this fight was another fight of just optics, and the fight looking just odd and wobbly and really, 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 really fucking bad. You go to the first round, Ribeiro outstruck Machado by 3 strikes. You go to the second round, where Machado outstruck Ribeiro by 8 strikes. Now, And then in the third round, he outstruck Ribeiro by 6 strikes. The theme in these last 2 rounds is Machado's outstriking Ribeiro, but the strikes he's landing are light. They're just light. They're just kind of soft in comparison to Ribeiro's strikes, which are heavier, but come less frequently. They come very little amount of strikes from Ribeiro, and when he kind of does a Giles really, except he's actually trying to strike. He's doing what Giles did in the Malott fight, except he's actually going forward and throwing strikes and landing them. But very few of them land is the point here. He lands very few. The few that he lands are very heavy, and then the many that Machado land are very light. So while I still think the wrong fighter won, I'm not stressed about it at all. I think Machado should have won, but I'm not stressed about it. You go to the judges' scorecards, and I believe all 3 of them disagree with me. Saul D'Amato, he gives the first 2 rounds to Ribeiro. Honorable mention, that's fucking stupid. The first round should go to Machado. There should be no argument on who wins the first round. All 3 of them give it... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading this wrong. I'm sorry. I'm high. I'm high as hell. I'm high as hell right now. I disagree with the scorecards, but I can't complain. 29-28, he gives the first 2 rounds to Ribeiro, last round to Machado. Thomas Collins gives the last 2 to Machado. His scorecard reflects mine. And then Mike Bell, he gives the first 2 to Ribeiro. So, there we go. We go to the next honorable mention. We go to the next honorable mention, and that's Blanchfield versus Namajunas. I had this 48-47. Obviously, you guys by now probably know their scorecards reflect mine, but I'm going to go through it because it's another opportunity to just be mad at Brendan Fitzgerald. It's just another opportunity. He needs to stop talking. He needs to stop talking and giving us his opinion on the scorecard. Okay, I'm just going to bullet through this so I can shoot at Brendan Fitzgerald. It's 49-47. Last 3 rounds for Blanchfield. First 2 rounds for Namajunas. First round, Namajunas outstrikes Blanchfield by 12 strikes in the first round. Second round, she has a takedown. Namajunas has a takedown. And outstrikes Blanchfield by 11 strikes. In the third round, this is where Blanchfield decides... Blanchfield is... I don't know how to articulate this. Blanchfield is she's just boring now. Her style is very boring. And if she gets that fight with Grasso, I pray that we don't see Grasso Valentina 3 in Grasso versus Blanchfield 1 because this is dead. It's just her style's dead. It was cool when she's running through a bunch of softer chicks and on the bottom feeders of the flyweight division. Now it's like when you're fighting the top girls, it pisses you off somehow. I don't know why it pisses me off. When you see that style beat the top girls, it makes you mad because it's like this shouldn't be the way. It just shouldn't be the way at all. What the fuck? It shouldn't be the way. But that's how fighting is. That's how fighting is. Third round, Blanchfield has a takedown with some ground and pound for 3+ minutes. Fourth round, she outstrikes Namajunas. This is the quote unquote pivotal round via Brendan Fitzgerald. And then the fifth round, Blanchfield had a takedown with ground and pound for 3+ minutes. You go to the judges' scorecard, and all 3, I don't even have to look too hard, all 3 of them, Derek Cleary, Mike Bell, and Junichiro Kamijo, all have a 48-47 to Blanchfield. Now, Brendan Fitzgerald, he wants to decide. Somewhere between the end of round 4 or the end of round 5, he wants to proclaim that the swing round is round 4. And maybe he just closed his eyes during the striking exchange, the striking exchanges of round 4. But Namajunas is getting pieced up by Blanchfield. And I don't say pieced up like Blanchfield has hands. Blanchfield does not have hands. Blanchfield fights like She fights like Strickland, basically. Her strikes don't look like Strickland. She's landing successfully on Namajunas because Namajunas is afraid of the takedown. And I like Blanchfield based off the fact that even in her post-fight interview, she says that very clearly. I like how honest some of these fighters are. She just goes, yeah, I mean, once Namajunas was afraid that I was going to take her down again, her hands are a little different. Her hands are not the same as round 1 and 2. And that's true. And I've always wanted a fighter to do that, to where they get taken down in, like, let's say round 3, and then in round 4 they just fight regular and pretend like the takedowns aren't going to come. But I know you can't fight like that. But maybe you can. I don't know. Back to this fight. So Brendan Fitzgerald is confused by the striking in round 4 and just goes, maybe Namajunas won that. Because why? Because she got outstruck pretty clearly. Now, there were some instances where they were just kind of unloading on each other and nothing was really landing. But in the sections that they were separated, Blanchfield was landing pretty successfully on Namajunas, and in fact, she outstruck her by 13 plus strikes in that 4th round. Brendan Fitzgerald is just confused by the matter. And so, there you have it on that. Get John Gooden into the U.S., please. We go to the next honorable mention. It's Moreno versus Albazi. Moreno put on a masterclass, really. Minus the first round, he put on a masterclass. I had this 50-45. I put a close marker on the first. You can argue the first for Albazi. You can argue the first for him. Close on the feet with the edge to Moreno. I had him winning by a strike in round 1. I put a close marker, so, you could maybe argue it to Albazi. Albazi was kind of winning in the strikes in round 1, and then Moreno kind of just closes the round out with a few more strikes and kind of edges him out in that first round. In the second round, Moreno outstrikes Albazi by 19 strikes. Third round, he outstrikes him by 8 strikes. By the way, I gave Albazi no takedowns because once he got him on the ground, Moreno got up so quickly. He got up so quickly. He deterred all of Albazi's takedowns. He outstruck him pretty well on the feet. There are moments that Albazi had, but when I say moments, I mean he hit him a couple times, and then that was it. You go to the 4th round where he outstruck Albazi. This is probably Albazi's best round. Moreno outstruck Albazi by 5 strikes, and then in the 3rd round, it's rare that you see this, but he goes to the corner in the 4th round. His corner tells him to just basically, unload, and he fucking unloads. He just unloads. Moreno outstrikes Albazi by 30 plus strikes in this final round. And that's where you get 50-45 on my scorecard. You go to the judges' scorecards, and Saul D'Amato and Derek Cleary, their scorecards reflect mine 50-45, and then Eric Colon, he has it 49-46 for Moreno against the first round Albazi. And there you have it. That's it. That's all. On to the next one. Thank you all for listening, and God bless.